Today's story was written by Reddit user Zophasemin. The galactic community was a relatively peaceful place, made up of 273 different sentient species, each with its own history and its own values. There was the occasional fight for the right of colonization, exploitation, or even simply because of the different ideologies. But it always came down to a legal fight in the Senate or a border skirmish that lasted a few cycles. This time, the Senate was reunited for a different discussion, one far too serious to be left alone. It wasn't even 100 grand cycles, 500 cycles, ago when the Agriska were uplifted by the wrongdoings of an unidentified scientist. In this time, they had killed, massacred, and outright enslaved 10 species, 5 of which could have become new members of the community if it wasn't for their vicinity to the Agriska home system. The Senate was initially expecting them to become more peaceful at the realization that there were more than 200 species, other than the ones they met. It came as a surprise when the GC envoy was killed and mutilated during a galaxy-wide stream. After this show of violence, it was decided to hold a meeting of the whole Senate to decide how to further interact with this gruesome species. The Senate meeting room was ancient, and yet it was beautifully decorated and maintained in a state of perfect care. The room was a circle, made so that every representative of one race could see everyone else as an equal. The only exception was a slightly dilapidated throne. While the others were made of gold hyperalloy, this one was made of a strange black stone. It wasn't illuminated and was separated from the others while being higher than those of the other races. The vast majority of the young species representatives thought it was a relic of forgotten times, while the oldest members of the GC wouldn't even speak about it. The meeting was called and everyone was seated, the various representatives arguing loudly over what would become of the Agriska. Some wanted to exterminate those pests before they could reach community space, while others argued that they could be contained and, with time, made into a pacifist race. The meeting went on, becoming something more similar to a fight than a diplomatic agreement. It was at that moment that between the screams and rageful slurs came a voice, almost too feeble to be heard, but the words it carried made the room grow still and silent. "May the betrayed now judge them." The older representatives paled as they searched for the one responsible of such a foolish act that was sure to throw the galaxy into chaos. It was then that they saw a small lizard-like being, a member of the First Contact diplomats from one of the enslaved species. She was so small that she wasn't noticed until now. Still, she stood near the black throne while still repeating the same words. It was then that the sensors of the station began screaming as if the end of the world was happening. The entire complex started to shake violently while the AI of the station broadcasted the same warning repeatedly. "Emergency! Dimensional rift detected! Warning! Detected gravitational anomaly in proximity of the star system. Detecting mass moving at relativistic speed toward the system." Then it all stopped when a ship came into view of the large glass dome of the Senate. So big it eclipsed the star behind it, its armour so dense it deviated the light around it. The energy readings indicated that it had a massive singularity as its reactor, with enough energy to keep a star going for billions of grand cycles. While everyone was shocked and frightened by the behemoth laying outside, an average height bipedal creature materialised in the room, seated over the black throne. The figure reached for the small scared girl and started caressing her head as if to calm her, even if she had started crying when she felt the warmth of the creature. Then, when everything was silent, the creature spoke, not moving its eyes from the small girl. We have left you alone for eons, ever since your ancestors betrayed my people. We fought them, and what was left of them now evolved into your current forms." The creature moved its eyes and looked at everyone present in the room. "We abandoned our old name, humanity, and became the betrayed. We guided your development from the cold distance of the dead galactic arm, and today we see that you are still incapable of anything more than standing here and watch as others suffer and die." The hatred seeping through the betrayed voice as if ready to purge them from existence. This so-called community, so fragmented, could not come to a decision. Only this poor girl had enough courage to invoke us, even when most of the older representatives know that it is only necessary to ask the Black Throne to call us here. It was written in your history so that you would know. The figure turned back to the small girl seated on its legs. "Now, with the power as member of an ancient species, and as a leader of the executioners, I ask you, young lady, what do you wish to be done to those you called us to judge?"